So, sit however you're comfortable. If it's cross-legged seated, that's great. If you ever need to extend a leg out or sit a different way, feel free to do that. So make sure that you stay comfortable throughout your entire practice today. And if there's something that I offer that doesn't feel good, it doesn't work for you, then let's figure out a way to modify that. So if I see you struggling, whether on camera or here in studio, then I might suggest different ways of doing the same thing. So let's take a moment as we just begin our practice, and we're going to open the bronchial tubes. So the bronchial tubes are within our lungs, and they allow us to pull oxygen in and oxygenate the blood, and they allow us to release CO2, used oxygen, used air. So the mudra that I will offer today is the bronchial mudra. So notice that your thumb has these two little bends. It has the lower joint, the middle joint, and then the tip of the thumb. Those are the points that we're going to be using today. So we're going to take our index finger and we're going to curl it down and try to bring it down to the lowest joint in the thumb. So both hands are going to be doing the same thing. You could just do it with one hand first and then do it with the other. So index finger curls all the way down. Then the middle fingertip is going to try to come down to that middle joint of the thumb. It's kind of hard. And then the ring fingertip is going to come to the tip of the thumb. So your fingers are making almost like a little spiral. You've got index finger, middle finger, ring finger coming around, and your little pinky finger is extended. And so it's kind of like playing guitar. You might have to actually place your fingers on those little strings. So that's known as the bronchial mudra, and if you're like, it kind of hurts my fingers, then loosen up your grip, and it doesn't have to be so intense. And so this is known as the bronchial mudra, also known as the asthma mudra, or sometimes the B mudra. The B as in allergies. So if you're dealing with allergies, this could be something that helps to open up the bronchial tubes. So if that feels good and you want to hold it, then let the hands just rest right on the knees. You could hold them up. They could come together in the lap, however you like. And we're going to start to breathe. So if you'd like, you can close your eyes or just lower your gaze down to a spot on the floor, something that you can just stare at on the ground. We're going to take these next couple minutes to just breathe and just find ourselves right here, right now on our yoga mat, wherever you might be. So let's take a deep breath in, really consciously pulling that breath in through the nose and breathing out, allowing that breath to be almost lacy as it leaves your body. Breathing in and breathing out. Couple more breaths just like that, allowing yourself to just find wherever it is in your body that you might be holding some tension, some stiffness today. This moment, this breath, this body. Bringing yourself just to this here and this now. And the best way to do that is to breathe. Whenever your hands are ready to release that mudra, feel free to let them go. Take a moment to stretch out the fingers. Open the palms, make fists. Feel free to keep your eyes closed. We're just going to move the arms, much like we always do as we begin our session. So as you inhale, scoop your arms out up over your head. And as you exhale, float your hands down to the ground or down to your lap. We'll do it again. So just at your own pace, with your own breath. Don't worry about how I'm cueing you. Just worry about how your body feels as you inhale, excuse me, and lift up, and exhale and let the hands drop down. We'll do it a couple more times. I'm not really taking count of how many times I'm doing this, just allowing the arms to float with the breath. Great job, everybody. All right, so let's let our hands just rest. We'll bring them down out to the outsides of our body. If you need to change the way you're sitting, then feel free to do that. We'll spend a couple more minutes just stretching our body before we start flowing here. So if your hips are bothering you at all, feel free to extend your legs out here. I'm gonna go ahead and take my socks off here, starting to warm up a little bit. And so as we extend our legs out, we want toes to kind of line up with our hips here, so you never want your feet to be touching. But of course, if this is not the way that you prefer to sit, you prefer to sit with legs crossed, feel free to stay like that. So it's really up to you here. I'm also going to lower myself off of my block here. And so we'll ground our fingers down. We're going to drop our right hand down to the ground here. The left hand will sweep up to the sky, and we'll start to reach over our head. Now as you go, you might want to go a little bit further, so bend into your right elbow, but try not to let your left butt bone lift off the ground. Let's take a big breath here. With an inhale, bring yourself back up to center, ground yourself for a moment, and then we'll go the other side. So left hand will ground down, make sure your right butt bone doesn't lift off the floor, and the right hand will reach up over your head. And then if you need to add more, see how my left shoulder kind of hooks up by my ear? I don't want that to happen. I want to lower that down and find length in my neck. So I bend my left elbow. Let's take a big breath. Looks good. Let's try it again to each side. So if you're a person that these legs aren't working for you, you like this better, come back to this. It's up to you. How do you want to sit today? So it's all about finding what works for your body. We're leaning towards the right here. Let's take another breath or two, just allowing it to stretch, feeling how those left ribs are doing today. Inhale, bring yourself back to center. Exhale to ground yourself down. Let's try it again towards the left. Bring yourself into that posture. Bend your left elbow if you need to. Right sit bone stays rooted. One more deep breath while we just hold that stretch and feel the right side. Inhale, bring yourself back to center. Exhale to ground down. Great job, everybody. All right, so re-extend those legs. If you've crisscrossed them again, we're just moving back and forth so that our legs and hips don't get tired in one position. We'll take that big inhale up towards the sky. And we're going to reach for our ankles, for our toes, for our shins in a forward fold. Bowing your head down, chin to chest. That might just allow you to feel this in your lower back, in your neck as your chin drops down. Crown reaching towards the toes. Great job. Inhale, sweep your hands out past your toes, up towards the sky, and we're going to climb some rope as we come up. So reach up high with your left hand, your left hip might lift, and then the right. Go back and forth. Go at your own pace here. I inhale for one side and exhale for the other. I'm just stretching my ribs from side to side. Great job. Arms are warming up here, getting a little toasty. And then we'll bring them down and we're going to kind of flap our wings here. So arms come out. As you inhale, squeeze the shoulders back. And as you exhale, round over and give yourself a hug. Let's do it again. Inhale, squeeze the shoulders back. And exhale, give yourself a hug. We'll do a couple more at this fast motion and then we'll slow it down and hold that hug for a couple breaths. All right, let's inhale, squeeze backwards, and then exhale, round over, let your elbows overlap if possible, and we're just going to hold this little hug, rounding our back. Feel your lower ribs pulling back towards the back wall. Nice job. Now notice which elbow's on top, because we've got to do it again with the other elbow on top. So inhale when you're ready, squeeze the heart open, shoulder blades back. And then exhale, give yourself a hug, other elbow on top. Nice. Notice your lower ribs kind of poking back through your spine towards the back of the room. And then we'll bring our arms back, open, inhaling, squeeze, and exhale. The hands will just drop down. Nice job. Now let's just do 1 or 2 more hip and leg stretches, and then we'll start getting into our movement flow here. So we'll keep our right leg long, and we'll bend our left knee. And if that doesn't work for you, some people are more internally rotated, so if you would prefer, you could do more of like a froggy type pose here, more of a hero's pose. I'm definitely more externally rotated, so find what works for you. If you need a little lift, pillow works really great, rolled up blanket. So we're going to fold forward here, inhaling up towards the sky, reaching towards our right ankle, right toes, right shin, wherever it is that you land. Bowing your head down here. So we call this a figure 4 forward fold, but in Sanskrit it's known as Janu Sirshasana, which means head to knee position. So by bowing your head towards your knee, you're going to increase your stretch a lot more. Great job. One more deep breath, a conscious breath right here. How's your leg feeling? It's pretty tight today for me. And let's start to roll up towards center. We're going to move into the inner thigh here. So all I'm going to do is take my left leg, take it off the mat. So I'm separating here my right leg from my left foot. There we go. So I still have my left foot lined up with my belly button, and I'm going to try to bring my hands on either side of my foot and start to lean my chest down towards the left foot. But I don't want my right hip to lift when I'm here. Both sit bones grounded here. I like to make sure that my right toes are lifted towards the ceiling. A lot of times I'll see people's leg internally rotate. I want to keep it externally rotated so that the pelvis is grounded. Great job. We're going to add a little stretch in here, so go ahead and just push on the floor, pick yourself up to center, reach your right hand down your right leg. Left hand reaches out to the side. Inhale, reach it up to the sky. And exhale, maybe go a bit further over your head towards your right toes so that the left hand and the right hand are both reaching towards the right foot. Open your chest. Take another breath. Remember, guide yourself here whenever you need to. Back up to center. Big inhale, coming back up. Now we're going to meet in the middle with our feet together. Baddha Konasana is what it's called. Now we won't go into the full pose yet because we've totally stretched out the right leg, but not the left leg at all. So just coming into center, maybe noticing how different they feel. Like this leg feels pretty warm, and this leg's like, what about me? My toes are cold, so I might take this moment to just grab my toes. All right, so let's do all of that on the other side. Left leg, we'll just kick it straight out in front. So we've got this figure 4 called Janu Sirshasana. We're going to lean our head towards our knee. So big inhale up to the sky first. We get length through our spine, and then we start to fold over, reaching for ankle, shin, knee, toes, wherever you are today. Just stretching the back of our left leg mostly. You might feel it in your low back as well. Couple breaths, just stretching here. So remember, we don't want our stretch to hurt. A stretch can be a little uncomfortable, but we don't want it to be painful. When you inhale again, go ahead and pull yourself up to center, back up to seated. Nice job. And then we'll take our leg out to the side here. So when we do that, you might feel the stretch happening already, so you might not need to add too much, but we do want to keep our right foot lined up with our belly button here. So I lean both hands down to reach on either side of the foot, and we'll start to lean towards our right foot, but we've got to make sure that our left toes don't rotate forward. So if you're feeling too much in that left leg, the trick is to slide it inward a little bit, so there's not so much space. So the more space you create, more stretch. Less space, less stretch. So you've got to modify for yourself. Don't compare yourself to me. I do a lot of yoga. I I have since I was about 12, so you know, it's kind of like this second nature for me. So let's do one more breath here, just feeling into the inner thigh, lower back, the hip, the left leg. Go ahead and push into the floor and roll yourself back up, back to somewhat neutral. We'll reach our left hand down our left leg. Right hand is going to reach out to the side so that the arms are teed out. And then the right hand will start to reach up to the sky. I like to inhale as I reach up and exhale as I let the hand just kind of drape over my head towards my left toes. Open the chest. Look up towards the ceiling there. Remember, we don't want it to hurt. Looks good. One more breath. Inhale, pull yourself back up to center. And we'll rotate forward and bring our left foot to meet our right foot. Back at center, Baddha Konasana is what it's called. Baddha means bound. Kon means angle. So we're bound at the feet, angled at the knees, and asana means posture. So bound angle position. We call it butterfly. So you can stay here if you'd like. If you need a little bit more stretch, you can lean in towards your feet. In the winter time, I always think of this pose as leaning in to kind of like huff on my feet and warm them up because they're pretty chilly right now. Alright, so if this is a little bit too much, the inner thighs are screaming at you, maybe lighten up or lean from side to side a little bit. Just another way to modify so that you can kind of carve out the hips and see how they are reacting to the work today. Nice job. And we'll start to push up out of that posture, lengthening the legs once again, giving them a break. Wiggle those knees out, do some window wipers with the feet if you'd like. When we have our legs straight out like this and our bodies upright, it's called Dandasana, and that means staff position, pole position. So you feel like a pole being straight jammed into the ground. So let's do that. Big inhale up to the sky. Straight upper body, and then as we start to round over and reach for our knees or our ankles, shins, or toes, we come into something called Paschimottanasana, and it means just forward fold, seated forward fold. Let's take one more breath here. Sometimes I know my belly kind of gets in the way, so the more wide that I can get my legs to let the belly come through, that's kind of the trick there. And then we'll start to roll back up to center. All right, so from here, let's move to hands and knees here. If you have any knee issues going on, make sure you have some cushion around you. So I always have a blanket, and if you need more cushion, pillows work great. Gardening mats work really good for that too. So we'll bring our hands down to the ground here. I want to get us through some sun salutations today so that we can learn about those. So as we start, just coming to tabletop, I like to just drop my hips from side to side. We call it a dog wag. So our hips just drop from side to side. Now I like to get my ribs involved too. So I let my ribs reach out from side to side as my hip drops from side to side. But you might notice extra pressure in your wrists as you're doing this. So make sure that if that's a little bit too much, to come down maybe onto elbows at some point, or maybe you just take breaks. Give your wrists, elbows, or shoulders a break. Now let's come back to center. So even if you've got something going on with an arm, just honor that arm, honor that shoulder. Let's drop our belly down towards the floor. Lift the chest by looking forward. Big inhale, that's cow pose. And then we'll round our spine up to the sky, tuck the tail, it's like a mad cat. So let's do that with breath. Inhaling for cow and exhaling for cat. And we'll do it 2 more times just with breath here, warming up the curves of our spine, the vertebra. There's joints between every vertebra, and we have 26 vertebrae. So that's a lot of joints in our spine. Great job, everybody. All right, so we're going to do some active cat. We did some of this last week, so just kind of adding on to what we already know. So an active cat is where you lift your leg up to the sky. You come into cow with your belly, and then as you exhale, you bring your knee through and round your back like a mad cat. So we're just adding a leg in. Right leg, inhale to lift, exhale to round. We'll do it 2 more times, so that'll be about 4 total. You can do a 5th one if you want to. So we're working with our breath here. Don't worry about how I'm moving, just worry about yours. I'm going to do 1 more here. This will be for good luck. And then we'll come up to a kneeling position. So that means that we're going to lift up off of our hands. This is going to be some core work here. We've got to step our right foot forward. So if your left knee is like, no, then feel free to support yourself with your left hand. We're going to step forward with the right. So do your best to get into this kneeling position. We're just going to practice here for a moment. So left knee is grounded, right knee is bent. And then my hands are on my knee, but if your hands need to be near the floor on blocks, that works too. Let's lunge a little bit more forward, and as you do that, make sure you can still see your right big toe. That means that your knee is in alignment. We don't want our knee to drop out or drop in. We want it to stay nice and sturdy. So from here, if you're feeling good and sturdy here, you could balance, then maybe lift your hands to your heart, or if you want to go for that full extension, reaching your hands up for the sky. Maybe you can feel that in your left hip, left thigh. That's where we want to feel that stretch. Now let's start to fold back over that right leg. I bring my right hand back to the inside, and we're going to swing it back around so that we can do all of that on the left side. And that way our body knows what to expect a little later. Left leg. Let's inhale to lift the toes up. Look forward, and exhale to round and bring your knee forward. Let's do it a couple more times, about 4 more times for 5. Nice job. Inhaling to lift left toes just as high as you can. Exhaling to bring it forward. It's like a reverse crunch. Nice. All right. So from here, we're going to get that left leg forward. So for some of you, you might have to ground on your right hand and kind of swing that leg around. For some of you, it might just be as easy as stepping forward. So let's bring our hands onto our knee. Make sure you can always see your big toe. If you can't, it means that your knee is dropping inward, and we got to keep that knee nice and strong so that our hips and legs stay strong for us. So from here, let's practice just lunging forward. And then we'll bring it back a little bit. And then if you'd like to lift hands to heart or hand up overhead, then feel free to go into that full posture, whichever one you like. It's about finding what serves your body today. Don't worry about what anyone else is doing, what I'm doing, just what you're doing. 1 more breath. You can feel that in the right hip. And we'll bring the hands down, bring the foot, I bring the left hand to the inside so that it can swing that left leg back around, back to tabletop. Tuck the toes. We're going to lift the knees up off the ground. So we've got to push up off the ground with our hands a little bit into a downward facing dog. We look back at our toes here. If downward dog doesn't serve you, then feel free to child's pose or just go ahead and start walking forward towards your hands. We're going to start that ascent in a minute. And so what I mean by that is we're going to start walking our feet forward towards our hands. Let's do it. As many steps as it takes. Some people it'll be 1 big step. Some people it's 10 little baby steps. And some people have to walk their hands back towards their feet. So don't worry about how it looks. We just got to get to that destination. Now let's reset the spine. Hands come onto the shins. We extend the legs a bit further. Arms extend. The back is straight as we can get it. So pretend like someone's pulling back on your hips and someone else is pulling up on your head so that your whole spine is lengthening from head to tail. 1 more breath. I kind of suck it in for my favorite jeans when I come to that last breath. And then we'll relax and come into a ragdoll, forward fold over top the legs. Now if you're a person who this is not serving your back, another option for this ragdoll forward fold would be bent knees, elbows stacked on the knees. And so that just is another way to lengthen the lower back. Now let's start to rise up from here. Arms sweep out to the sides. We'll start to push into the floor with our feet, slowly rising up. We don't want to get dizzy, so do it slow. Hands reach up overhead. We're going to exhale down to the heart. Nice job. Now let's march in place for a moment. Marching in place is just a really great way for us to get those knees lifting, activating not only hip flexors, but the deeper hip flexors of psoas. And it helps us to ground. So, let's ground those feet down, hands to heart center. We're going to do a sun salutation A. It's known as Namaskara A. Surya Namaskara A. So inhale right here at your heart. Exhale, hands down to the sides. Inhale, up overhead. And we're going to exhale and bring our arms out to the side like wings. Soften the knees and fold over top the thighs, reaching down for the floor. Or if you need maybe a block instead of floor. And so from here, we're going to work on stretching our hamstrings just a little bit. So I'm breaking up that sun salutation. So my knees are bent here. With an inhale, I'm going to straighten just the right knee. It doesn't need to go all the way straight. With an exhale, I bend both. Back to almost like a squatted standing. Inhale, lengthen just your left leg, stretching out just the left hamstring. And then exhale and bend both knees. Let's try it again. Inhale, straighten the right leg. Exhale, bend your knees. Again on the left side. Inhale to lengthen. And exhale, bend both knees. Last time, this will be our third round. Right leg lengthens. And exhale to bend. Last one. Left leg lengthens. Hip is pressing back. And exhale, bend both knees. Let's lift halfway and reset our spine. Hands come to the shins. Look straight down at your mat or your toes. One more breath. Remember, someone's pulling you in each direction. Exhale. Bend both knees. Bend them a lot so that you can get your hands down to the floor. I do fingertips at first. Step back with one foot. I did my right foot first. Doesn't matter which. Then I drop both hands to the ground flat and step my left foot back for downward facing dog. Now remember, if downward dog is not your pose, then feel free to drop to the knees at any point. We do not have to be tortured here in yoga. We want ourselves to, be healed, not hurt. So, from here, go ahead and either drop to the knees, or if you're trying to go for some core strength, arm strength, then start to roll your body weight forward into a plank position. But your plank can be done on the knees, my friends. So from here, we're going to lower down to the floor. For the sake of beginners, I've dropped to my knees, and we're going to bend our elbows to lower our belly all the way to the floor. Squeeze those elbows back and lift your chest up just a little bit by pushing your belly button into the floor. You could push into your hands and go a bit higher if you'd like. And we'll lower back down. Find your way back to like a child's pose. So we'll push up hands and knees and start to slide back. Now I don't go all the way to child's pose. My body doesn't necessarily do that. But I can separate my knees wider. I could drop my chest a little bit further, coming into more of a puppy. So you've got to find the right moderation, the right variation of this posture for you. Don't be afraid to move around and explore your body and be in this body right now, right here on this yoga mat. Let's get ourselves back to this moment. Take a deep breath. Beautiful. Go ahead and press yourself back to your tabletop pose. My knees will come back together. Tucking the toes. I'm going to lift back to my downward dog. We won't stay there forever. Look forward to your hands and start walking forward. I step my right foot forward first, then my left, then my right, then my left, all the way towards the top of my mat. Might need to walk your hands back. Then from there, we're going to take a halfway lift. So that means hands come to the shins. We lengthen the whole back out. One more breath, almost like you're sucking it in here. And then we'll exhale, separate your feet, bend your knees, and just kind of hang out there. Remember, not everyone likes this forward fold. So if you need to rise up sooner, you can do that. Using blocks is really helpful too. Some people like to just grab onto opposite elbows and kind of just hang like a pendulum. So there's a lot of different ways to do this posture. You gotta find the way that works for you. All right, let's start to rise up. Sweep your arms out like a bird. Push into those feet. Start to hinge here at the hips, rising up all the way. And then we'll raise the hands up. Do it slow so that you don't get dizzy. Exhale, hands come to the heart. Nice job. So that's a slow sun salutation, very slow. Most of our vinyasa classes are going to be a little bit quicker than that. So let's practice a sun A just a little bit quicker. I have my hair stuck in my earpiece. So it's that weird feeling of like flossing my ear. So let's inhale right here at the heart, right here in this body, in this moment. Exhale, hands to the sides. Inhale, nice and slow, like you're moving your body through molasses. And exhale, swan diving, softening the knees, folding forward to blocks the floor. Just hanging is fine. With an inhale, we're going to lift halfway. That means hands to the shins, knees, or ankles. We flatten the back out, lengthen the legs and arms. And exhale, back into a forward fold, kind of reaching for that block or the floor. Step one foot back, maybe the opposite, so left foot this time. And then the right foot. We step it all the way to our downward dog. Now this is a vinyasa point. So we look from toes to hands, and where we gaze is where we go. So heart over the hands, we're in plank. You can drop to the knees. Untuck your toes if you drop to the knees and lower down to the floor. Inhale, heart lift. And exhale, back down to the floor. Press back up onto your hands and knees. That's a tabletop. From here, we're going to roll up to our down dog, so tuck those toes, lift the knees. Again, looking from toes to hands, instead of rolling into plank, we're going to start to walk forward. Little baby steps is fine. I'm going to walk my hands back to my feet. And when I get there, I'll take a nice conscious inhale and lift halfway. Exhale to a forward fold. Reverse swan dive, arms sweep out like a bird. Let the air catch your wings. Hinge at the hips as you come all the way up. Nice, and exhale to the heart. So the word vinyasa means one breath, one movement. That's pretty much what we just did. So really good job. That slow breath is really the key. So try not to make it too fast. So from here, let's come into like a forward fold. We'll step back to our down dog, and we're going to learn how to step forward into lunges. So from here, let's just kind of bend through our knees and reach for our toes. Bent knees is the best way to protect your back in a forward fold. Separating your feet is another way. So from here, I'm going to walk my hands forward a little bit. I'm just on my fingertips, and I'm going to step my feet back, downward facing dog. And when I'm in downward dog, I want my hands to be as flat as possible. And we're going to do this with the right leg first. So reach your right leg all the way up towards the sky, as high as you can. Some people it's 2 inches, some people can really get it up there. Now we've got to try our best to step our right foot as far forward as we can. So for me, my blanket is my marker, and I just want to step more forward than my blanket. And so from here, we can make our way up into this high lunge. So I just press up onto my right knee. And now we're in a high crescent lunge. Now, the back left leg, you've got choices to make here. You can keep your heel lifted, or you could drop your heel down to the ground by turning your toes out to a 45-degree angle. So you've got to kind of make a choice on which one will honor your leg the best. Now we're building some strength here. I'm burning a lot already in my right leg. If you'd like to, you can lift your hands to your heart. We're just going to get a little bit, more intense as we lift higher up to the sky. So if you're like, that's too much, hands can come back to the knee. And so, if you like, the full extension is lifting all the way. So remember, we've got a choice here with the back leg. What serves you better? Can you still see your right big toe? It's important. Looks great, everybody. Really good. Inhale here. Exhale, let your hands come down to the sides. Let's see if we could touch our fingertips behind our back here and maybe interlace the fingers. Pull those elbows straight. Open the heart, coming into a little miniature back bend. Wow, you look beautiful. And we'll release the hands and bring them down to the right foot. I know you know what's going to happen. I'm flipping my left heel up to the sky, so I'm back in that lunge. And I'm going to step my right foot back to downward dog. Now before we switch sides, let's go ahead and drop to hands and knees. Untuck the toes. Let's take a little rest here. Child's pose, puppy pose if you prefer. And as we take a break between sides, you can start to notice how the right hip is now a little different than the left. For me, the right hip is experiencing a little bit more heat. You can actually feel like some burning through the glute and through the leg as we were holding that position for quite some time. But now I want to make it even. I want to create balance in the body. So let's do it on the other side too. Let's roll up towards hands and knees. When you're ready, just join when you're ready. Align the body. I like to align the knee with the wrist in front of it. I tuck my toes. I start to roll up to that downward facing dog. I'm going to reach my left leg up to the sky as high as I can and step it forward. So for me, it's in front of my blanket. For some, it's between the hands. And for some, it's kind of replacing the left hand. Now from here, alignment, we want to make sure we're not stepping on the same line, so like a tightrope, our feet are on separate lines here. You've got a choice to make with your back right heel. Do you want it lifted, or do you want it grounded at a 45? What honors your knee the best? And from here we can start to lift up. A lot of you have already started that by coming up onto your left knee, making sure you can see your left big toe. My leg is burning, my friends. So if yours is too, twins. And from here, the hands can lift if you want. If you're like, no, it will hurt if I lift up, then we've got to honor our body in that way. Can you still see your left big toe? Are you feeling any stretch in the right hip? Nice balance, everybody. Let's drop our hands down. Interlace the fingers behind our back. Pull the arms straight. Open the chest, and if you'd like, you can start to lift the chest to the sky, only if there's no pain. So listening all the time to how that body's reacting. Now the legs are almost on fire now, so I'm going to release and bring my hands down to the floor. Stretch out that left thigh and push into the mat to step into downward facing dog. Beautiful. For some of us, this is like, oh, thank goodness, downward dog is nice now. You can drop down, hands and knees, and take a little child's pose or a little puppy pose. So the difference is, child's pose is hips on the heels, all the way, smushed together. And puppy pose is not smushed together. It's the heart more melted. We're going to add some side body stretches to this pose, so I'll turn forward here. Let's tent our fingertips out on the mat. We're going to take our hands over towards the right. So keep your body kind of in the same position as your hands come over towards the right. And you can start to lean into the left elbow, the left armpit, and I feel it all the way through my ribs on that left side. And we'll start to come back through to center, just slowing the body down here. Moving the hands over towards the left. As far as you need, and you can start to really lean into that right underarm, right rib cage is the target area where we really feel that stretch. As long as you'd like to hold it, and when you're ready, come on back. It's your choice. So if you need that again on each side, feel free to reach your hands again from side to side. I like to start to add a little lean, a whole body lean through that pose. So my whole body's leaning to the right, then to the left. It's just a rocking through the shins, through the pelvis. Great job, everybody. From here, let's pull ourselves to our tabletop position. And so we were just kind of crunched up like so I'm going to add a camel posture, and then we'll start to come onto the floor here. So let's roll up onto the knees. If that's bothering your knees at all, then build it up. So I'm going to scoot back and roll my blanket up one more time, and that makes it extra squishy. And so camel posture is called Ustrasana. Ustra means camel. Asana means posture. So I like to cheat, and because we're beginners, I'm going to do that. So I'm going to lift my toes, or tuck my toes, and see how that lifts my heels about 5 extra inches. It's great. So I'm going to do my right hand first. I'm going to reach my right hand down for my right heel, and thankfully for me, it's right there. Some people use a block. You can see Anne over here using a block, so that's a really great option too. So fingertips towards that block, and then I take my left hand up to the sky. So this is Ardha Ustrasana, which means half camel pose. Beautiful. Thank you for modifying, Anne. So if you're like, ooh, that kind of hurts my back, then let's start to roll forward. And so not by coming straight up, I roll out to the right and come around. We don't want to impinge any nerves back here, because that will make our legs go numb and stuff, and that's not fun. So we want to go around the spine as we come out of that. So if you're like, I didn't like that full reach back, then feel free to support your back like so, and just go as far as it feels good. So let's try it on the left side. You've got options. Most beginner is left hand to the left low back. Start to press it forward and press it up. Second option is reaching for a block or reaching for your heel. Right hand can start to sweep it forward, up to the corner, or all the way up to the sky. It's totally your choice. What will honor you the best? And when you decide to come out, we've got to lean over towards the left, sink our hips down, come around town, around the spine. Nice job. So half camel pose. Full camel pose is both hands down. For the sake of beginner, I'm probably not going to do it, but we could do the supported one. Hands come around the sacrum. I squeeze my butt a little bit and start to lean my pelvis forward as I look up. So it's not a huge movement here. Now if you're more advanced and you want to drop both hands down, it's fine. You can do that. But for today, beginner's sake, there we go. There's the pose. There's your camel pose. Except you only have one. Camels have 2 humps, you know, so I'm like, I don't know where they get the names for these things. So let's come forward. You'll notice that child's pose feels really good now after all of that back bend. And we are going to start to make our way onto our backs, my friend. So anatomically, it's known as supine position. Right. So I use my blanket now as a pillow, but you could use a blanket as a roll under your knees if you like. So I'm going to start to lay back onto my pillow, onto my mat, And I like to just rock my knees from side to side and start to just bring some awareness back into the hips and the lower back from the work that we have done. Here we'll do a couple hip openers. It's one of the areas that we haven't focused too much on today. Did a lot of legs, did a lot of spine, but the hips is what pulls it all together. So with your knees bent, feet flat, come on back to center just so that there's not a whole lot of motion going on there. Arms can be wherever they're comfortable. They will come into play here in a little bit. We're going to do the famous figure 4 pigeon stretch. So we'll take our right leg and we're going to cross it over the left thigh so that your leg looks like a 4. A little flag over there. Now for some of you, you might be feeling that in your knee and in your right hip. That's good. That's what we want to feel. If you're not feeling a stretch, then I like to take my right hand through the flag, through the figure 4, and my left hand on the outside of my left leg, and I'm going to help that left foot come up off the ground, bringing all of this, all of my legs closer to my torso. And then I like to add a little rock through the legs there. As I go towards the left, for me, that's when I feel the intensity of that posture. So I rock towards the left and really feel that pose. I like to also extend my left leg up to the sky so that it looks like I'm stepping on the ceiling when I'm there, and maybe roll out the ankle a couple times, flex and point the toes, get into the calf a little bit. Nice job. You can bend that left knee and bring the foot down to the floor, releasing the thigh. Spread your arms out like a T. Don't move your legs just yet. We'll let that right leg cross all the way over. I call it newspaper pose, kind of like you'd be crossing your legs. And both legs, we're going to try to let them drop towards the left. So the arms stay grounded, the shoulders stay flat on the floor as best as you can. Everything in moderation, keep that in mind. And the legs rotate towards the left. Let's see if we can take a deep breath there. Bringing yourself into this body, into this moment, into your ribs. Assist the legs. I actually use my left hand and I assist the legs back to center. And I uncross the right leg. Because now we've got to do it on the left. So let's pick up our left leg, bend the knee, externally rotate and drop the outside of your ankle or calf onto the right thigh. If you're already feeling a good stretch, you just stay right there, my friend. If you'd like to add more, the left hand will come through the flag of the figure 4, the right hand on the outside of the right thigh. We're going to pick that right foot up off the ground and pull the legs closer to the chest. So I'm grabbing onto my right thigh this time. I like to rock a little bit, right and left. And of course, oppositional to the other side, as I lean my body towards the right, I feel an increase of stretch. Nice. Extend your right leg up to the sky and flex and point your toes. Touch the ceiling with your toes, then push your heel up to the ceiling. Draw some circles on the ceiling with your toes, maybe your name. And when, of course, it's up to you, when you've had enough, drop that right foot back down to the ground, tee your arms out to the side, off the sides of your mat. Let your left leg cross all the way over the right thigh, and the legs are going to try their best to rotate to the right as the shoulders stay grounded. Just as best as they can, a twist happening throughout the left ribs, left hip, left shoulder perhaps. Breathing a couple times into those ribs, into your body. And when you have I've had enough. When you're ready to come back to center, help yourself back up to the center and uncross your left leg. Maybe adding a couple more of those window wipers to just see how different it is now compared to when we first laid down supine. Great job. And so from this space, one more hip opener before we lay down here. We're going to go into a happy baby, so I want you to pull your knees into your chest. That's step one. If that feels great, stay there. You don't have to advance further. Step two, the knees separate, the toes stay together. Step three, reaching the hands up for the inner ankles. Inner, ankle area, the smallest area of your lower leg. Flex the feet back, start to bend through your elbows. The weight of your elbows is what pulls those knees back. If you want to do the full happy baby, then the left hand will reach up for the inner arch of your left foot. Right hand to the inner arch of your right foot. We're pulling those knees back, happy baby. I like to rock on the spine here, it feels good. Doesn't always feel good for everyone though, so if you're like, ooh, that one doesn't work for me, then that's just how it is today, and our body has the ability to change, so we keep trying. Release the feet when you're ready. Bring the feet down to the floor. Let's reset our spine. The best way to do that, supine, is a bridge. Push into your feet. Squeeze your booty, lift your lower back off the ground, activate, and then lower down. We have a lot of options here. You can stay with your knees bent if you would like, feet flat. You can extend your legs out long, traditional Shavasana. You could bring your feet together with your knees apart, like the butterfly pose, the Baddha Konasana. You could bring a nice rolled up bolster or blanket underneath your knees. So find a good position, something that you can lay in for a little while here, and allow yourself to rest. So we want to find a position that is relaxing, that doesn't require any strength, and doesn't need tension of the muscles. Allow the head to simply lay on the ground, on your pillow. Is there tension in your jaw? Are your teeth touching? Is the tongue on the roof of your mouth? If the answer is yes, separate. Allow the air to move. Breathing in and breathing out, allowing the body, the shoulders, the elbows, the hips, the feet, to just be heavy right here on the floor. And begin to breathe once again. Let go. Remind yourself that this very moment is the only one you know you have for sure. has the mind wandered? Let's see if you can guide that mind gently, without judgment, back to breathing in and breathing out. Because breathing is the best way to bring ourselves into this body, into this moment, right here, right now on this yoga mat. Now let's add a big stretch here. So let's start to awaken our body. Maybe start small with hands and toes, and just start spreading the toes and the fingers and making fists, crunching those toes up. And eventually we'll work those movements into something bigger where the arms reach up overhead and the toes reach down, and we stretch in both directions. A good morning stretch. And start to just let it go. And let's start to bring our body into our awareness. So if you'd like, you can roll onto a side. Traditionally, that is the route. You roll to a side. I will suggest to roll to your left side because it's daytime and we need some energy. So when you roll to your left side, right nostrils pointed up to the ceiling, and that allows you to open the sun channel, the energy channel. Now, when you're ready, if you want to, you can press yourself up to seated. Any seated position will work. As we come back to seated, again, we gotta find something comfortable for us. So if it's not seated like this, use pillows, use bolsters to find a moment of just serenity, clarity, just sitting right here, so that we can take some time for gratitude. As I bring the session to a close, I like to take a moment to thank my body for all the work that it's put in for this last hour. It's a good body, it's very strong and capable, and has the ability to gain strength and flexibility in just an hour. And then I say thank you to the breath for guiding me through the practice and being the energy for my body. I thank my mind for getting me here today, rolling out the mat, pressing play. And I'm grateful for this moment, because this moment is my life. Thank you, each one of you, for joining me here today, for unrolling the mat with me, and for spending this hour dedicating to bettering the body, bettering the mind, being present. Thank you. Namaste. And shukriya, that means thank you. Thank you so much, everybody. Have a great rest of your Sunday. Sunday here when I'm recording. Awesome.